Hey everyone, welcome back to Tactical Magic. This is Molly Mandelberg, your host, and I have a special guest with me today, Jevon Perra, who has been awakening and tapping into some serious magic, helping people embody that process of awakening. He has a catchphrase I love, which is "Wake up, embody down," and I will tell you more about him on this episode. Hang on for just a second. It's not just about mastering technology. It's not just about brand or messaging. It's not just about making more money. It's about showing up in a big way so your people can find you. This is about bringing your most wild and authentic self into the hustle and grind. Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur. Awesome. So Jevon has been a conscious advisor in many capacities in the finance, human behavior, and spiritual circles in particular. He is the author of Life Experiment, 8 Tactics to Challenge Reality to Create a New One, which sounds awesome. And also The Captain, A Tale of Discovery, Awakening, and the Hidden Atlantis. His purpose is to support the transition for humanity to wake up and embody down their divine nature. His next book, The Choice, Wake Up, Embody Down, will be out this year and supports this same purpose. We'll talk about how you can connect with him more a little bit later, but welcome to the show, Jevon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, super excited to have you here because the path of awakening, is kind of my jam. I have another show called Reveal a Game of Life, which is more about that. But I am one of those seekers and finders who can't seem to tap into enough of that information, which I know is probably the case for a lot of people listening. Would you tell us a little bit about how you got, how you found your way to that, how that awakening happened in your life, and sort of what the backstory is?
Yeah, well, awakening, right? So waking up has been certainly a gradual process for me. I grew up, I was born in a very spiritual and religious family. There's some differences in the two there. But I've always known that I was here to find God, serve God. I never really was trying to find God, that kind of thing. But it was more like I had a very clear understanding that's how it's supposed to be. But my family was so controlling that I didn't really have any way to explore that. I just obeyed. And it wasn't until I was in my early 20s or mid 20s, after being late 20s, I was a fundamental Christian pastor for almost 10 years. And it occurred to me, my first wake up experience was, wow, I'm doing all this stuff because I feel like I have to have like some kind of minimal acceptance by God and by people. And like, I realized, wow, I can be completely accepted by God and people by doing anything. And that was like, blow up. So
mind blown.
It was mind blowing. Yeah. Because I did not have a classic, youthful upbringing of do whatever you want, make mistakes, be a kid. I was grinding at a young age to win acceptance of people and God. And it was almost monastic in nature, but it was in an American culture version. And so then, at that age, late 20s, I'm like, I want to go get drunk or, it pushed my limits of what I thought was okay. You can do anything. All things are permissible. Not all things are valuable, but all things are permissible. And I did my best at being a bad sinner. I could never sin very well. I tried.
You gave it a good hard try, though.
I gave it a go. That's right. And so since then, I have really been thinking, like, well, what am I here for? What's the purpose of my existence? It's been a really steady progression. 2016, I started to get into more spirituality as opposed to a particular religion. And once again, mind blown about my direct connection with Source, which was something that, religion offers as a promise, but there's all these rules. There tends to be all these rules that limit you to that direct connection with Source, with God. And it was only until I got this non-religious, spiritual type language and stories that I thought, oh wow, this can be possible. I can have a direct connection with my source, with the ultimate bed of reality, with consciousness itself, which, I mean, none of that even made any sense to me when I first heard the words and the stories that were trying to exemplify that. And so it's been shoot, man, I've heard that if you can look back any 5 or 10 year period and you don't think that how you're operating is sacrilege, like you're gonna burn, you've made you're way off track, that kind of thing. If you haven't come to that place, well, you're not growing fast enough, kind of thing. And that has certainly been the case for me. I have been releasing beliefs, releasing all these structures of how life should be like crazy. And incrementally, as I release these ideas of how life has to be, how God has to be, how people has to be, how my business has to be, how my discipline while I'm working my business and while I'm being with my family and while I'm being with my customers, all those things have to be. As I release those things, I have an equivalent, immediate, a blissful experience. And things tend to work better also on the just physical plane.
Let's just highlight that for a second. When you release what you think has to be the way you operate in those scenarios, then you find the bliss. It's like once you get rid of the structure and the have to and the judgment of yourself if you're not doing it by that strict guideline, then the bliss and the connection comes after that.
And it works better too. I mean, you think, I mean, I'm still in business. I'm in finance as far as my day job. And, there's a following up with people. I mean, I'm really good at following up with people, and it's simple. I can suck at what I do and I follow up really good, and I want to do well. And so, for business people, because that's a lot of your viewership, right? As business people, what's the framework that I have of following up with people? And people that hate calling their people, they have this framework of I'm bothering them. I am, pushing, I'm being pushy. I'm a pushy salesperson. And all those things. And so if you think about that, you're a perpetrator, you're a burglar into their house when you're making that call. And who wants to be that? As opposed to I'm making a phone call, I'm opening my heart, I'm offering what I have and doing the best I can. And they could say no, and God bless them. I might say no too if I thought that. And every call then is an act of worship that I can make, because I get a chance to release all those beliefs that I can feel bubbling up. It's like, I don't want to make this cold call, or whatever it is, right? The cold call is the dark Trojan horse of the business world. However, if you can release the darkness of it, you can get through, just like that original Trojan horse. And so all this work has become a real act of worship to me in the business world, that I can offer this experience up to the divine, so to speak, in a cold call. I mean,
I love how relatable that is too, because I feel like anybody who hears the word cold call, we're thinking about every telemarketer that has called us, and every time we've had to call someone who we didn't know very well, and all the judgments and the projections and the expectations that come along with the idea of that. And then to say, even that can be done from a place of like sacred spirituality, of there's a part of me honoring this person I'm connecting with, even though I don't know them yet, before I even pick up the phone to call them. Now, we're not necessarily saying, those of you in the business world, because I know a lot of people, coaches and holistic practitioners, who are on the other end of this listening, and thank you for listening, by the way. Cold calling isn't maybe necessarily a part of our businesses. That's not generally how we go out and approach new clientele. But every person that you've not followed up with because you didn't want to bother them, what if you went into it with this mindset of like a heart opening desire to connect with the being on the other end of that line? And it's less about going out and trying to make a sale or close a deal or whatever, and about really allowing yourself to be connected to this network of people that you're already connected with. I love that.
It is. And it's really a release of the fruit of your actions, because the fruit of our actions in reality is none of our business. And that's a really strange concept in a business, world because I'm in a business world, and the fruit of the business that I run pays my bills.
Mm-hmm.
And so how could I say it's none of my business? The reality is it isn't. The reality of the universe is things are happening and I'm participating, and I think that I'm making them happen, but I'm really not. And my real work is an open heart and just doing the next thing. Because when I have to have a particular outcome, that's when things get weird. That's when things get dark. I have to get you to say yes on this phone call.
Instead of
But
just the curiosity of what are we here for? Why are we connecting today? What's in it for both of us? Yeah.
I'm just doing my job. Why'd you call me? Well, you're on my list. Go away.
Okay.
Well, it's people we already know, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we have cold calls, but how many times do we not open up to the people around us because we don't want to be pushy? How many times are we doing some wonderful work and there are people around us that don't use us because they don't even know what we do?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they know what we do? Well, I'm going to guess there's some beliefs around that if we just don't share what's really there, because we have this outcome that we need to happen, and we know inherently that it doesn't work, and so we don't want to share it, right? And so there's this limiting kind of I'm going to try to compartmentalize my life, only
based on those limitations.
Yeah, only business over here. That kind of stuff.
Totally. I want to pull the thread back through the story you shared earlier too, which is like nothing against organized religion, but that you started to become aware of those limitations as being, there's only this way. You have to follow these rules to get this result of, passage into heaven or approval from God or whatever. And that you started to notice that you were embodying that in your business and your operating system. And I'm imagining in your relationships too, which we all have, this set program of limitations and expectations and judgments, that if we follow these rules, then we can get what we want, or then we can get approval or validation or love or connection or affection. And that you started to become aware of the fact that those limitations are lies, and you can get more of that when you just surrender and get curious to what's really here for you. And that doesn't mean not taking action. That means doing, I love what you said, the next thing, the next right thing in front of you that needs to be done, and doing it with a curiosity of how will this show up, rather than the linear, if I do this, I'll get what I want. I think that's really beautiful. Does that tie into, would you bring us now around to the wake up, embody down thing? How does that show up?
Yeah. Well, so the book that I basically have finished. I just need to do the editing and make sure there's no typos, that kind of thing. The book's called The Choice, and the tagline, or whatever that second line is called, is the wake up and embody down. So the choice is there's really some choices, or there's some ways that we're going to do what I think we incarnated to do. The reason we're a human is to have these intense experiences. And it's kind of like playing poker. If you know your opponent's cards, then it's not a fun game anymore. And so we play poker and we don't know the other person's cards on purpose, because that's what makes the game work. Now, it's not about knowing the other person's cards, it's playing the game. And it's the excitement of winning or losing. Can I create an environment where you can win and lose? Because my experience and my belief is that once we step on the other side of death, there is the winning and losing aspect is basically gone. Our progression's not gone, but that duality of black and white, win, lose, you're in or you're out, that kind of thing, is just not a part of the game anymore. And the reason why it's part of our game is so we can take progress, we can learn, we can change our biases more rapidly. So this is being a human the universes are in awe of humans, that we can have this experience, not only because a lot of them want to be doing this and they can't because there's only so many spots, but also like, who would sign up for that intense craziness of being a human? I'm just going to watch them. This is better than any kind of reality show you could ever dream of. So the choice is, how are you going to use this experience? Because we can either use it in a way that's service to others, which is kind of a Jesus character. He was embodied this fully, or you can fully embrace service to self, which I don't go into that path a lot, but this is like Genghis Khan, Rasputin, like Hitler didn't make it. Like that's the kind of intensity you have to have. He wasn't service to self enough. It's service to self at the other's expense to the extreme, and how both of those paths are valid. And that goes down a rabbit hole of spiritual teachings that talk about those two paths, the left hand and the right hand path. So then once you choose, then that's what your life is about staying on the path and taking use of all this catalyst, all this darkness that only exists here. So that's the choice.
Awesome.
And then you want me to go into wake up, embody down? Sure.
Yeah.
So wake up is a process of just we're waking up to, wow, I'm a multidimensional being. That's awesome. People think they are their body. That's really dense, a really gross reality, like as in dense physical, stuck, pushed down, pressed together, like hard to move reality. If someone thinks that they're just their body, or they think that they're their emotions, their accomplishments. I live in Southern California in Orange County, and this is like the world of I am my accomplishments,
Mm-hmm.
and God bless them. That's their experience they wanted to have. But we can wake up to think, wow, I am not that, or at least I'm not just that, which is what my book is about. Is I'm not just that, but I am that. I don't have to negate that or make this bad. I'm that too. But what else am I? And the more that I expand, the more I once again let go of my own definition of who I am, what I'm supposed to be doing. That's another rabbit trail of supposed to-ness. Once I can release that, well, in this empty place of no rational figuring out, where I want to keep control so I can not be scared to death of what's going on with my life, my lack of control, there's always more available. There's like a deep well of knowing that we can have an experience with, and know like, wow, I can start to feel this spiritual part of me, this at least this non-physical part of me. And so this waking up, we realize maybe that I am part of the awareness that is all that is. That's like an incredible waking up. Mm. People have that kind of experience instantly with different psychedelic journeys. And so if you can have that, whether it's through meditation or just experience or a psychedelic journey, then you come back and you're like, oh crap, now what?
Mm-hmm. What do I do with that? How do I embody that in my life?
All our programs, they're still here. I'm still bugged by the neighbor that starts their musical journey that they like to have with the full volume at 10 p.m. right? Or I'm still, my other neighbors' kids start at 6 a.m. Jumping on the trampoline and screaming. That's my house, by the way. Sorry, neighbors. I still have all these problems in my life. My lack of money, or my lack of companionship, or all these lack of stuff. And even if I'm aware, it's like, wow, I'm a multidimensional being and my life still sucks, okay. So embodying down then is the process of becoming that new awareness. It's a process of not negating and being otherworldly and sitting on a mountaintop, but by being in the darkness and embracing the darkness, first as friends, but then embracing it all as perfect. Mm-hmm. And what I've found is all the things that have bothered me, caused me the most suffering in my lifetime up till now, that the circumstances or the chances of me having that in my life don't necessarily go away. In fact, a lot of it hasn't gone away, but they're my friends. They become my friend. Me being separate from another, or feeling separate from another, becomes my opportunity to stand in a place, stand as a safe, cleared space for others to enter into and receive nourishment. Whereas before, that was always, I'm lonely. I'm alone and lonely, mm-hmm. and very sad because I'm separate from everyone. So the separateness hasn't changed in the fact of I don't play the earth game very well, even though I'm here to do that. But that's just one example of how it's become a beautiful, wonderful gift and act of worship to all my brothers and sisters running around with me trying to figure it out.
Right.
You know? But that happens at everything. Everything that causes me suffering can be that gift, and is that gift. I just need to see it.
I like that you keep using the term act of worship and not a religious stance. It's like, what would it take to walk through life as an act of worship, as if everything is sacred and nothing is sacred, which is a great Tom Robbins quote too. But I want to back up because I like to highlight the important stuff that I'm hearing from you, and hopefully reiterating it helps me get it in my bones and helps the listeners get it in their bones. And what the waking up is, it's like getting that you are that higher consciousness, you are that source energy, you are that light being already. And rather than you being a body with a soul inside of it, you are that awareness that your body is contained within. So it's like your body is within you, the knowing, the being, the spirit, the soul, whatever. And that the body isn't containing that. So it's like you're all this awareness. And then to embody that is like to integrate that experience or that awareness or that knowing or that higher consciousness and know that you can bring it into this physical form. And I think that that's the great work of those who begin to find themselves on that path of awakening or who have an experience of waking up. And by waking up, we mean getting that simple fact that you are the source, you are the energy, you are the awareness. To bring that into your body, what if that's the only thing you're here to do? And what if every action you take after that is just to keep choosing that, to keep becoming that, and that it's not to change or fix anyone else, but when you step into embodying that and having that energy in you, it's like everything else is impacted by it, by that choice. Every person you interact with, whether they know it or not, are being changed by you embodying that energy, by you walking through life as that, like, as that almost disruptor energy of awakeness, of awakening. So yeah, super powerful. I love talking about this stuff. I could talk about this all day. I'm curious though, because as I was reading your bio, the thing that like pinged me the most was 8 tactics to challenge reality to create a new one. Will you give us some of those tactics, or will you just explain that a little bit?
Sure. Well, that's from my, I did a lot of human behavior coaching for some years. And it's just how to make life. If you want a different experience, you want different results. It's pretty simple. To be honest, I don't remember my rules.
That's okay. Just the idea of challenging reality to create a new one, which
yes.
is in create a new reality. Will you just riff on that for a minute?
Yeah. So reality is really my experience. We have there are 2 people walk into a party and it's the same party, it's the same people in the party, it's the same exact environment. Their proximity is maybe 12 inches to the side. That's the only difference. But one person walks in and sees a room full of friends and a wonderful chance to make new connections and leaves with what they want. Whether it's a relationship or a business opportunity, all that stuff. The other person sees it as a group of enemies that has to be protected against so that I don't get hurt. Those 2 realities exist in the same exact stuff. And so we all, in everything that we do, the reality that we call reality is just a subjective experience, which makes, it begs the question, well, what is real? And the only thing that's real is not even covered in that book at all. I didn't even know what was real. I'm beginning to understand and experience what is real just now. That whole book is about if you don't like your experience, here's how to change it. It's very simple. Uh, we think this is just how I am. And people say that all the time. This is how they are, right? And no,
Yeah,
it's actually
that's a
not.
limiting belief right there.
Simple things like a thought repeated becomes a belief, and the beliefs that we have is how I interact, and how I interact creates results, and consistent actions and results creates things like a bank account that has money or not, like that kind of thing. And it's not magical that you can do it and I can't do it. I'm not cursed. It's just because I'm not aware. I am a victim to that which I'm not aware to. Now I'm not a victim, but if I choose not to, or for some reason it's part of my experience here not to know, all I need to do is know, and I can start making those changes. It's like the saying of the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. Well, we're planting seeds all the time, constantly. And the things that we consider good and the things that we consider bad, they're both growing at the same time. And so I can't chop down all the bad, because the good seeds that are growing up too will get chopped down too. That's biblical story. And so what I let them do, I have to let it all grow and just be more mindful to plant more good by my own subjective experience. I plant more good and plant more good. And another 5 years goes down and I have this wonderful life. How'd you do it? It's like that. So what is good? Can I chunk it down? Can I get that end result that I want and chunk it down, not only to have the physical result like a bank account or a significant other, bank account with money, but also can I have that experience that I want, which is to be happy. We just want to be happy. That's really what we want all that stuff for. Success for is to be happy. Can I be happy? And can I do those little seed planting things on a daily basis that's going to give this supposed experience in the future that I want? Can I do that? And I think you can, but more importantly, I think you can be happy today while we go towards that future thing. And in the end, that future thing means less and less and less to us, because if we can be happy now, that's what I wanted that future for anyway. And so we learn in the process of that, that life can be just an experiment, which is the book's title, right? And a scientist doesn't go in and try to make outcomes happen. That's not what a good scientist does. The scientist does something and then it blows up and they say, interesting. Right. Right now, it's not like it blew up, I'm a failure. It's like, oh, wow. In fact, they can say, how fascinating. That's one of the things I used to do all the time in these workshops. My wife is leaving me. How fascinating, right? It's like this whole.
Yeah, that's an improv tactic too.
Yeah. So that's the gist of the book.
Awesome. Yeah. And I love that message too. I think this comes up for me a lot lately, because sometimes I get personally still triggered or frustrated with people who aren't choosing to try. Like, if you know that life isn't the way you want it to be, or you're still stuck, or you're suffering greatly, why would you not try at least something to see if you can break that pattern or change that thing? Like I am the way I am, because I used to have that in me too. And I think that's why it triggers me, is because I can relate to it. And there's still a part of me that might think it. But I am the way I am is basically saying I'm limited and I just won't do anything about it. I don't care to change it. I'm just going to stay limited and let that be a victimization of myself or a struggle that I just submit to. When we could get support, you could have conversations with people who seem happier than you. You could read books about how to change your life, like the books that you've written, or any self-help or personal development book out there, which doesn't cost money. You can get a library card and rent those books for free. Going to conferences, workshops. I mean, there are free meetups around the world that you can get insight and wisdom from. Like, there are so many ways to get a new perspective on your life that it's I don't want to say it's too late, but like we're at a point in time with information and access to information that I feel like it's up to each and every person to empower themselves to try something to be the you that you would like to be. There is absolutely nothing, I'm speaking to you who are listening right now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. And in order to change your life, it's okay to try something you've never done before, something that doesn't fit who you think you are, to expand beyond who you think you can be. So I love that we're having this conversation. I love how you've dedicated your life to putting that message out into the world. And I think it's so, so important that people get at least that from this 30 minutes of time that we've spent together today. Try something to wake up and
One
tap
thing
in.
too,
Yeah,
I would say not only that, but just to know that you, the listener, and us too, we're perfect. It's perfect now, and it's perfectly working to have the results that we have. It's working perfectly.
yeah,
And that means I'm not broken. It just means if I want something different, then I got to try something a little different,
totally.
because it's going to perfectly work that as well. And in
Yeah,
fact, other people are constantly here to show me all those things that I get a chance to work on next. And how do I know what those things are? Well, it's the stuff that pisses me off or frustrates me or bugs me. It's in me. That's why it bothers me. If I had only love in me, I would only be loving and feel love towards others. And so the universe is conspiring for my growth and my happiness always.
yeah. And it's, I mean, such a fun perspective to see your life as an experiment and become the scientist who gets to hypothesize and like add a little more of this and try a little bit of that and see, what makeup actually like expands your life and makes you super excited. I love that. Thank you so much for that message. And we're coming close to the end of our time. So how would you like people to get a hold of you? What's the best way for people to find you?
JevonPerra.com, JevonPerra.com. You can, all my stuff's on there. I do a lot of YouTube videos, and the Captain is another great book. If you want to get it on Amazon, it's called The Captain, and Jevon Perra, The Captain. You can search for it. And the new one's going to be out soon. The Captain's a fictional. It's a spiritual fiction, spiritual parable, and so it's a story. It's pretty fun.
Awesome. And are you on Instagram or social media anywhere?
Oh yeah, Jevon Perra, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. You get a little bit of my mortgage stuff on there. Nice. One of that. I'm everywhere. Jevon Perra is on all the different ones.
Okay, great. So everybody just pick up your phone, search at Jevon Perra right now, follow him. And any last words of wisdom you want to, we dropped a lot of wisdom on this line today. Any last words you want to give people?
I would say that whenever things bother you, just first of all, realizing it's a gift, and then bring that concept that's bothering you from your head and imagine it go into your heart. And then from your heart, thank it for its lesson, ask what it would have you do, and then do the next thing from there. And it's enough to recontextualize your entire life.
I love that. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show today. And thank you everyone for listening in. And don't forget to tune back in next week for another episode of Tactical Magic. Have a wonderful day.